You may know me from Muay Thai, but here you will see a different side of me. Welcome to CM Show.
Welcome to CM Show. I am your host, Coach Moose. For the past few weeks, I have been interviewing my friends, my co-workers in this podcast. This is something new that I've been trying out. I have been trying out different decors, different arrangements, different lighting settings, different vibe, different kind of questions, just to find the right fit for me. I am still figuring out, right? But for this episode, I am going to do a solo podcast talking about my journey, my experience as a business owner from my day one to my one day. So that will be the topic for today, episode 1, solo podcast with me, Coach Moose. But do bear in mind that I am not comfortable doing this, but me as a business owner, I believe in doing things outside of your comfort zone. I am not good at doing podcasts. I am actually an introvert. I think the guys around me would agree with that I don't talk much, but I can talk about Muay Thai a lot. I can talk with the people who are close to me, but naturally around people I like to keep things to myself. I'm not a loud person. So doing this podcast, talking in front of the camera for everyone to listen or to watch is something very uncomfortable for me, but I love challenges, and I hope the listeners out there, you guys too, will try to get out of your comfort zone for you to grow. So in this solo podcast, I will be trying my best to be myself. For the past few trial runs, I have been trying to kind of pretend, fake myself, trying to be interested, but I just don't feel natural. Alright, so for this episode, I'm doing this alone, so I think this will be easier because I don't have to really talk to people. Like I told you earlier on, I am an introvert, but I will try my best to keep things interesting so that my audience can enjoy while listening. So the topic for today, from day one to one day, everyone have heard of this before. What if I am a millionaire? What if I am a world champion? What if I have many businesses? What if I have blah blah blah? Right? So for me, what if I have a gym? Right? So initially I didn't plan to have a gym, but I will share you the story. All this what if is your one day, right? You change that what if to one day. One day I will have a gym. One day I will become a millionaire. One day I will blah blah blah. Alright, so all this one day and what ifs, all it takes is your day one. You have to take that first step, and that day one is gonna be very challenging and it's gonna be very hard. But as long as you make that step, slowly you're gonna walk towards that one day goal. So for the listeners who do not know me, my name is Coach Moose. I run 2 Muay Thai gyms in Singapore, Prime Fight Gym at Kim Keat Road and also Chana Muay Thai at Sembawang Road. On top of that, I am also the National Director of ISKA Singapore, which is the International Sport Kickboxing Association. I run fight events, I sanction events, I run certification courses and whatnot. Alright, so this is me right now, but back then I was way different. I will share with you my journey from day one. It is not easy, but it is definitely possible. My day one was at Hougang Multi-Purpose Hall. I still remember I used to stay at Hougang, so I started an outdoor group class at one of the blocks at a multi-purpose hall. It was a small crowd, maybe like 5-6 people in one class. If I can remember correctly, it was a Saturday morning, right? So what I did was I had group classes, I run private training sessions. After a couple of weeks, I opened another so-called branch. I opened at Tampines, then I opened at Choa Chu Kang, and I also opened at Sembawang. So I had these 4 branches, mainly Hougang, Tampines, Choa Chu Kang, and Sembawang. These 4 classes is, to me, it is a simple start. It is simple commitment because it is just 2 hours each day. It's just 4 days per week. Alright. So other than that, I was doing private trainings. My income actually comes from the private trainings. This outdoor group classes was an easy start. All I need to do is just to bring one big bag. Inside is my gloves, my thigh pad, my focus mitt, and pretty much that's all. And a few skipping ropes, maybe, and also maybe a few cones to set the stations. So it was an easy start for me to run outdoor classes, 4 places at a time, only with the intention of earning money. I don't have that dream of wanting to open a gym yet, but this was my day one without me realizing. Alright, and back then I knew nothing about business. All I knew was coaching Muay Thai, and my coaching experience also wasn't that much. Right, so I believe my classes weren't that great back then, but eventually, after several months, I rented a studio at City Hub. It's at Lavender. If I can recall correctly, I hold classes 3 days a week, 2 hours a day. The space was nice. It was basically a studio with full mirror. It had a balcony. We smokers had a place to smoke, and I hang 2 punching bags. I lay out the mats. The mats were all mine. It doesn't belong to the studio, but I made some arrangements with the landlord for me to keep the mats at the studio, so I will lay out the mats before my classes. So it was a 1,000 square feet studio. I run classes 3 times a week. Back then, I was lucky that I have friends in the industry who helped me out with pet holding. As I mentioned, I didn't know about business. All I wanted was to give a training which is good and fun to my expectation. So back then, we gave 3 rounds of pet work to every student. Alright, so having said that, I require quite a number of pet holders, and I appreciate my friends who joined me back then. They joined me without getting paid, or at least after, I believe after a period of time I did pay them, but it's minimal. I think only like a few dollars per hour. I think $10 per hour. But that's why I really appreciate them for helping me out at City Hub. The classes at City Hub was good. It was at Lavender. There was a walking crowd. It was near MRT, near bus stop. So we had a good crowd actually. Actually, one class we could have probably around 20 packs. Maybe some classes are lesser, but yeah, pretty much around 10 to 20 packs per session. I can't really recall how much I charged back then, but the earnings weren't that much. But it was a good start. I was proud of my work. But then, one day during my birthday, I received a call from the landlord, right? During my birthday. So what the landlord told me was I had to stop my business. I have to stop conducting classes there due to the fact that that was an office building. Do bear in mind that I do not have any business experience, business knowledge. I do not know about URA regulations. So when I rented the space, the studio, I didn't know that Muay Thai activity wasn't allowed in that building or in that unit. So that was the last training we had at City Hub. Then we had to move out. So I packed all my stuffs. A few days later, I'll move it into my house. Then my house turned into a warehouse where there are so many kick pads, so many mats. You can just imagine how many mats stacked and placed in my living room. And all the equipment, the punching bags. Then that is when I think to myself, what if one day I got injured and I can't do Muay Thai anymore? What if I can't coach Muay Thai anymore? How do I feed my family? How do I earn an income for my family? Because the thing is, I am not a smart person. I'm not highly educated. I only have a NITEC in precision engineering, in which I do not enjoy at all. But yes, this question came to my mind, and that is when I told myself I want to start a gym business, so that in this kind of cases, at least I can still have trainers to run the classes, and I still can feed my family. After we left City Hub, it took me around 6 months before I opened my very first gym at Gulimat. But in that 6 months, I've been working very hard. I do a lot of private trainings. I rented a studio space at this one strength training gym, running small classes. At the same time, I did Uber Eats. I think back then was Uber Eats. All trying to gain money to build my capital for my very first gym. And yes, eventually I opened my gym at Gulimat, which I named it Prime Fight Gym. Before Prime Fight Gym, at City Hub, we were called Prime Fight Promotion. Why Prime Fight Promotion? Because I wanted to run events as well, in which I did run one event in that City Hub unit, but it was a very small event. Not a competition, it's more of a hard sparring, right? But then as I move on to Gulimat, I named it Prime Fight Gym. And bear in mind that even until this point, I do not know about business. I did not do my research, I did not study. All I did was go to the internet, Google space for rent, and I found this unit at Gulimat. Back then, social media wasn't a big thing. There's only probably YouTube, Facebook, but there wasn't Instagram, no TikTok, no influencers or content creators, no, and especially no ChatGPT. So I saved. So for that 6 months, I saved barely enough just to open a gym. I didn't think of reserve funds. I didn't think much. I just raised money for the mats and the bags. Pretty much that's all, and all the small items nah. Yeah, I didn't save much. I did not plan. I did not have a business model. I did not have business plan, marketing plan. I thought it was easy because I've run outdoor classes before and it wasn't that challenging. I've opened a studio at City Hub before and the crowd wasn't that bad. So moving on to Gulimat Road, my very first gym, I thought, yeah, it won't be that challenging. So let's talk a little bit more about my Gulimat gym. It's located at a rundown building. The other units were construction offices. The second level was dormitory for those Bangla workers. My unit was around 1,004 square foot. I paid probably around $2,500 per month. It was at the first level, yeah, but it's not obvious from the main road. It has glass frontage, but the area was dirty, very hard to get a parking. If you do not know where it is right opposite of the fire station, the new fire station now at Gulimat Road. I had this place for probably around 3 years, I think, and that 3 years was the hardest phase of my life. I tell you honestly, that was the hardest phase of my life. And on top of that, at that point of time, I was a single dad of 4 kids. I opened Prime Fight Gym at Gulimat in 2017. If I'm not wrong, it was February 2017. I divorced in 2015 and I had custody of my 4 kids. How I get the custody of my 4 kids, we'll talk about that at a different episode. I think this was also quite interesting. But yes, I had custody of all my 4 kids, and my ex-wife did not see my kids at all. Alright, so I had them Monday to Friday, 24 hours. But of course, I have some arrangements for my kids to be looked after at home while I'm at work. But to me, even when my ex-wife did not come to visit my kids, I feel it's okay. I'm actually happy. I think I look at it as a blessing because there are no distractions, there are no fights, there are no arguments or whatever. It's easy, it's simple. Here we are. I have my own gym at Gulimat Road, Prime Fight Gym. It was a proud moment for me, but back then I did not know what to expect. After a few weeks, a few months, only I realized that it wasn't easy. Passion does not put food on the table for my family. I work from morning till night, 7 days a week. I left home at probably around 6 a.m. while my kids were all still asleep. I came back home late at night, probably around 12. My kids are all already asleep. In between my classes, all I had private trainings. I conducted all my classes myself. Of course, there are phases, but that's the start where I conducted all my classes myself. I couldn't pay rent on time every single month. I borrowed money. I'll talk about that later on. But truth to be told, this is the proudest moment of my life. As much as it is the hardest, the toughest phase of my life, it is also my proudest moment because this is where I tested myself, I tested my heart. This is where I found out about myself. I get to know myself. I get to know how tough I am. At situations like this where things are not easy, I still manage to fight. I still manage to survive, and I did not give up. So yes, until today, literally today, I am proud that I survived that phase, which I believe, and I have seen many people give up when they experience this kind of things. But for me, at that point of time, I just refused to give up. And I was younger, so I didn't feel tired working morning till night. But now, if you ask me, I really need 1 day of rest every week. I really need to rest and recover because I am not getting any younger, correct? But yeah, of course, I'm not very old right now. But yeah, our work is physical. At some point, you grow old and you will get tired. But anyway, that was 2017. Now it's already 2026. I still have a lot of stories to share, but I don't want to spend too much talking right now. I've got an appointment after this. So I'm gonna end this episode over here. Look forward for the second part of this topic, one day to day one. I hope these stories will motivate the new business owners, not just the business owners, but also the individuals who are facing difficulties in their life right now. All you got to do is to understand your purpose, your why. If your purpose is strong, then God willing, you will be able to persevere, endure the hardships and the challenges that you come across. I will share more of my stories. I will continue the stories on the next part. I will share with you my mistakes, my achievements, my proud moments. I hope you can learn from me. Don't make the same mistakes as me. Look forward for the next episode of my solo podcast, One Day to Day One. And until then, thank you for listening to CM Show. I am your host, Coach Moose. Sawadee krap.